It was a quiet, sunny afternoon when the millionaire father decided to take a break from his busy life. He had spent countless days buried in meetings, phone calls, and endless planning for his business empire. Today, however, he wanted something different, something simple. He wanted to spend time with his daughter, who had always been a little different from other children. She was gentle, shy, and faced challenges that most people could not understand. Her world moved at a slower pace, but her smile could light up any room. They arrived at a small, cozy cafe tucked in a quiet corner of the city. The cafe was known for its warm atmosphere, friendly staff, and delicious pastries. The father had never been there before, and he liked the idea of doing something ordinary for once. He believed that ordinary moments often held the most extraordinary memories. As they walked in, the daughter's eyes grew wide. She had always been cautious around new places and new people, but there was something about the cafe that made her feel safe. The colors were soft, the music gentle, and the aroma of coffee and baked goods filled the air in a comforting way. The waitress who greeted them was a young woman with a warm smile and a kind presence. She had a natural way of making people feel welcome. She noticed immediately that the little girl was a bit hesitant, standing close to her father, unsure about what to do next. The waitress knelt slightly, speaking in a soft, friendly voice. She asked if the girl would like to pick a seat, and gently guided them to a table near the window. Sunlight poured in, casting a warm glow over everything. The father took a seat and watched his daughter closely. She usually found it hard to relax in new environments, but he wanted her to feel at ease. He could see her curiosity growing as she looked around the cafe. The other customers were few, giving the place a calm and peaceful feel. There was no rush, no loud noises, just a simple, quiet day. The father felt a rare sense of relief. Moments like this were hard to come by in his hectic life, and he wanted to cherish every second. As the daughter sat down, the waitress approached their table with a gentle smile. She introduced herself and asked what they would like to drink. The father ordered coffee for himself, while the daughter requested something simple, a small hot chocolate. The waitress nodded and went to prepare their order. While she was away, the father spoke quietly to his daughter, asking her about her day and how she had been feeling. He listened patiently, knowing that sometimes words were not enough to express how she felt. She responded with small gestures and soft words, but her eyes spoke volumes. When the waitress returned with their drinks, she placed them on the table carefully. Then, noticing the soft music playing from the cafe speakers, she had an idea. She quietly stood up and began to sway gently to the rhythm. It was not a grand performance, just a simple dance to the gentle beat of the music. At first, the little girl watched, unsure of what to do. Her father observed with interest, curious about how she would react. Slowly, she began to move hesitantly at first. Her movements were shy, delicate, and unsure, but there was a spark of joy in her eyes. The waitress smiled encouragingly, making subtle gestures to guide her. It was as if she was saying, "It's okay, just enjoy the moment." The father felt a lump in his throat. He had never seen his daughter so free, so alive, so connected to someone outside their small world. The cafe, the people, and the moment all seemed to fade away, leaving only the little girl and the waitress in a bubble of shared joy. Other customers began to notice the scene. Some watched quietly, moved by the tender moment unfolding before them. A few took out their phones, careful not to disturb, capturing the delicate interaction between the little girl and the waitress. The father did not mind. In fact, he was grateful that others could witness the beauty of the connection. He felt proud, not in the way one feels proud of achievements or possessions, but in the quiet, deep pride of seeing his child experience happiness and confidence. The waitress continued her gentle dance, her movements light and fluid. She occasionally extended her hand, inviting the little girl to follow her lead. The girl hesitated, then took a small step forward. Each movement built her confidence, and soon she was moving more freely, her smile growing wider with every sway and twirl. The father's heart swelled. He realized that it wasn't just the dance that mattered. It was the care, patience, and understanding that the waitress showed. She had a rare gift, the ability to connect with people in a way that made them feel seen, valued, and safe. As the music played, the father watched, feeling a mix of emotions. There was awe at the gentle interaction, gratitude toward the waitress, and a profound sense of love for his daughter. He had spent so much time focusing on work and achievements, and in that moment, he understood that life's true treasures were in these small, fleeting instances of connection and joy. The daughter laughed softly, a sound that seemed to brighten the entire cafe. She reached out to the waitress's hand, and together they moved in sync, a delicate dance of trust and companionship. When the song ended, the waitress knelt once more, speaking softly to the little girl, praising her for being brave and joining in. The girl's face glowed with happiness. She hugged the waitress gently, a silent thank you for the moment of courage and joy. The father approached, placing his hand on his daughter's shoulder. He looked at the waitress, gratitude shining in his eyes. He knew that this encounter, brief as it might have been, had created a memory that would last a lifetime. The father realized that sometimes, help and kindness come from the most unexpected places. A simple act of warmth and encouragement could open doors, spark confidence, and create bonds that transcended age, ability, and background. Today, a small dance in a quiet cafe had done exactly that. The little girl had found a friend, and he had witnessed the power of human connection in its purest form. He made a silent promise to himself to cherish these ordinary yet extraordinary moments, understanding that true wealth was measured not by money or possessions, but by love, care, and shared experiences. As they prepared to leave, the father spoke softly to his daughter, praising her bravery and joy. The little girl smiled, her heart still dancing from the experience. The waitress waved goodbye, a kind smile on her face, knowing she had made a difference that day. The father held his daughter's hand tightly as they stepped outside, feeling the warmth of the sun on their faces and the lightness in their hearts. It was a day that would be remembered, not for grandeur or spectacle, but for the simple, beautiful connection between people, a moment that changed how they all saw the world. After the little dance in the cafe, the father and his daughter stayed a while longer, savoring the quiet comfort of the place. He wanted to let the moment linger, not rush it with plans or schedules. The daughter's laughter and gentle movements had brought a warmth to the room that could not be ignored. The father observed quietly as she sipped her hot chocolate, her hands carefully holding the cup, her eyes occasionally darting to the waitress who had become the center of her small, happy world. The waitress noticed the lingering looks and smiled gently. She knew that sometimes the smallest moments carried the most meaning. She approached the table, kneeling slightly so she was at eye level with the daughter, speaking in a soft, calm voice. She asked if the girl enjoyed the music and the little dance, and encouraged her to tell her how it felt. The daughter paused, thoughtful, then spoke softly, saying that it had been fun and made her feel happy. It was a small statement, but to the father it was a huge breakthrough. For a child who often found it difficult to express emotions, these words were precious. The father realized that the waitress had not only helped his daughter feel joy, but also given her a sense of confidence. Her gentle approach, her kindness, and her patience had allowed the little girl to step out of her comfort zone in a safe environment. He thought about how many people in the world never get to experience such understanding and warmth, and he felt a surge of gratitude for the waitress and the life lessons she had unknowingly imparted. Other patrons in the cafe began to notice the connection. Some whispered softly to each other, marveling at the simple yet profound moment. Others watched quietly, moved by the tenderness between the girl and the waitress. It was not a spectacle, nor was it forced in any way. It was genuine, natural, and full of warmth. The father felt a strange sense of pride, not for himself, but for his daughter. Seeing her engage with someone outside their usual circle and find comfort in a new friend was a gift beyond measure. The waitress decided to show the little girl some more simple steps. She suggested a small game where they could clap and move to the music together. The daughter hesitated at first, but seeing the encouraging smile on the waitress's face, she slowly joined in. Her movements were cautious, but her confidence grew with every step. The father could not take his eyes off her. Every tiny gesture, every soft laugh, every careful movement seemed to light up the room. He realized that this simple act of dancing had created a world where his daughter could feel free, understood, and safe. As the cafe's soft music played, the father found himself thinking about his own childhood, about the moments that had shaped him. He had grown up in a world where achievement and success were emphasized, where emotions were often secondary. Watching his daughter now, he felt the contrast sharply. She was learning to embrace joy in its purest form, and he understood that these experiences were shaping her in ways that words alone could never describe. The waitress guided the daughter through a few more gentle movements, showing her how to sway to the rhythm, how to stretch her arms gracefully, and how to enjoy the music without fear or hesitation. Each time the daughter successfully followed, the waitress applauded softly, making the girl's eyes light up with pride. The father realized that this was more than just a dance. It was a lesson in courage, patience, and self-expression. He felt a deep respect for the waitress, recognizing the skill and care required to bring out such confidence in a child who often struggled with self-assurance. The atmosphere in the cafe remained peaceful, but it was filled with an invisible energy, a quiet joy that seemed to radiate from the little girl and the waitress. Patrons who had been quietly sipping coffee or reading books began to smile, some even nodding to the music and the small dance. It was as if the happiness of one person could ripple outward, touching everyone in the room. The father watched this quietly, feeling a sense of awe. He had spent his life chasing goals and ambitions, but he realized that these moments of pure human connection were far more valuable than any achievement. As the daughter became more comfortable, she started to add her own movements, small twirls and gentle steps, following her instincts rather than just copying the waitress. The father noticed that the little girl was learning to trust herself, to take risks in a safe environment, and to express her feelings in ways that words could not capture. He felt an overwhelming sense of love and admiration. This was exactly what he had hoped for when he brought her to the cafe, a chance to be herself without fear, to find joy in the simplest things. The waitress, noticing the growing confidence, decided to share a story with the daughter. She spoke about how she had helped other children and adults who struggled with expressing themselves. She talked about the happiness that could come from small actions, like a smile, a kind word, or a gentle dance. The daughter listened intently, her eyes wide with curiosity and wonder. The father realized that the waitress was teaching not only through actions but also through words, instilling values that could stay with the girl for a lifetime. Time seemed to slow down in the cafe. The father felt as if the outside world had disappeared, leaving only the warmth, the music, and the human connection before him. He thought about how rare it was to find people who could touch hearts so deeply and naturally. The waitress had done this effortlessly, and the impact on his daughter was clear. The father felt a mix of gratitude, admiration, and relief. In a world often filled with pressure and expectations, this moment was pure and unspoiled. As the music shifted to a slower, gentler tune, the daughter and the waitress moved together, their rhythm in perfect harmony. The father could see the joy in his daughter's eyes, the excitement in her movements, and the trust she had placed in this kind stranger. It was a reminder that human connection did not require grand gestures, wealth, or status. Sometimes, the simplest acts, patience, encouragement, and genuine care, could create the most profound impact. The father reached out and gently held his daughter's hand, feeling the warmth and energy of the moment. He whispered words of praise and encouragement, acknowledging her courage and joy. The little girl smiled, leaning slightly toward him, feeling the safety and love of her father's presence. It was a perfect balance, the support of family and the gentle guidance of a new friend, both contributing to a moment that felt timeless and magical. Eventually, the music came to a soft stop. The daughter and the waitress shared a quiet, heartfelt smile. No words were necessary. The connection they had formed was evident in their expressions, their gestures, and the warmth that lingered in the room. The father felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He had witnessed something rare and beautiful, the blossoming of confidence, trust, and happiness in his daughter through the kindness and care of another human being. Before leaving, the father spoke to the waitress privately, expressing his gratitude for her patience and care. He acknowledged the unique impact she had on his daughter, explaining how meaningful this small encounter had become. The waitress smiled, modest and humble, saying that it was a pleasure to see the little girl happy and confident. She had not expected anything in return. Her goal had simply been to bring a moment of joy to someone who needed it. The father reflected on the importance of such moments. He realized that no amount of wealth or success could replace the value of genuine human connection. The courage his daughter had displayed, the kindness of the waitress, and the quiet joy that had filled the cafe were priceless. As they stepped outside into the warm sunlight, the father felt a renewed sense of purpose. He wanted to ensure that his daughter had more experiences like this, moments where she could express herself freely and feel understood and supported. The father held his daughter's hand as they walked down the street, both of them smiling and chatting softly about the little adventure in the cafe. The experience had left a lasting impression on him, not only because of the joy it brought his daughter, but also because it reminded him of the profound impact that kindness and patience could have on a person's life. He silently promised himself to cherish these moments and to recognize the value of small acts that can create extraordinary changes in someone's heart and mind. The father also thought about the waitress, her gentle presence, and her natural ability to connect with people. He realized that the world needed more individuals like her, who could inspire confidence, joy, and trust in others without expecting anything in return. This simple dance in a small cafe had taught him lessons about patience, empathy, and the power of human connection that he would carry with him forever. As they continued walking, the father felt a deep sense of gratitude. The little girl had experienced a breakthrough. The waitress had shared her gift, and he had witnessed the beauty of connection unfold naturally. It was a day that would be remembered, not for grandeur or spectacle, but for the quiet, meaningful moments that changed hearts. He understood that life's true wealth lay in these experiences, in the smiles shared, the hands held, and the courage inspired. Today, a simple dance had done all that, and it was a memory they would all cherish for the rest of their lives. As the father and his daughter walked away from the cafe, the father felt a new sense of appreciation for the small, unexpected joys in life. He had spent so much time building businesses and managing wealth, yet he realized that these quiet moments of human connection were what truly mattered. His daughter's laughter, the sparkle in her eyes, and the gentle encouragement from the waitress had created a memory he would treasure forever. The little girl skipped slightly alongside him, her excitement still bubbling from the dance. She talked about how much fun it had been and how kind the waitress was. Her words were simple but full of meaning. The father listened attentively, nodding and smiling, feeling proud of her confidence and joy. He knew that moments like this could shape her understanding of the world and help her build trust in others. The father began to reflect on how many people never get the chance to experience such genuine connection. He thought about the countless children and adults who struggled to find someone patient and understanding. In that moment, he realized that kindness and empathy were treasures that could change lives. The waitress had given his daughter a gift far beyond a simple dance. She had given her confidence, joy, and a sense of being seen. A few days later, the father found himself thinking about the cafe and the waitress more than he expected. He wanted to do something meaningful to show appreciation, but he also wanted to ensure that his daughter could continue to experience the joy she had felt. He spoke to his daughter about returning to the cafe and maybe visiting again to see her new friend. The little girl's eyes lit up at the idea. The father smiled, happy to see her enthusiasm. When they returned to the cafe, it was busier than before. The father noticed the friendly atmosphere, the quiet hum of conversations, and the aroma of fresh coffee and baked goods. The waitress recognized them immediately and greeted them warmly. She seemed genuinely happy to see the little girl again, which only made the girl's smile grow wider. The father felt a deep sense of gratitude for the warmth and kindness the waitress consistently showed. As they settled at their usual table, the waitress suggested another small activity to keep the little girl engaged. This time, she invited the girl to create simple movements to express different emotions. They started with happiness, then moved to curiosity, surprise, and excitement. The little girl's face lit up as she tried each expression, her movements growing more confident and fluid. The father watched quietly, amazed at how much his daughter had grown in such a short time. The other patrons of the cafe continued to notice the interactions. Some were intrigued by the unique bond forming between the girl and the waitress. Others were inspired by the scene, recognizing the importance of patience and empathy in connecting with someone who might struggle to express themselves. The father felt proud, not in a showy way, but with a deep, heartfelt pride that came from witnessing his daughter blossom in confidence. The waitress, noticing the father's attentive gaze, spoke softly about her experiences working with children and adults who had difficulty expressing themselves. She shared stories of small breakthroughs, moments when someone finally smiled or laughed freely after months of hesitation. The father listened intently, realizing that her dedication went far beyond her role as a waitress. She had a natural gift for connecting with people, a talent that could inspire and uplift anyone she met. The little girl, now fully immersed in the activity, began to suggest her own movements. She twirled, clapped, and even created small gestures that reflected her thoughts and feelings. The father felt a sense of awe. He had never seen her so expressive, so confident, or so engaged with another person outside of their family circle. The waitress encouraged her gently, applauding each new movement and idea, creating a safe space for exploration and self-expression. The father realized that this simple act of returning to the cafe had created an ongoing opportunity for growth and happiness. He thought about the importance of nurturing such moments, how they could have lasting impacts on his daughter's confidence and outlook on life. He silently promised to support and encourage these experiences, understanding that they were more valuable than any material possession or luxury. As the day went on, the father and daughter continued their activities with the waitress. They laughed, experimented with movements, and shared small stories about their lives. The father observed quietly, appreciating the balance between guidance and freedom the waitress provided. He understood that her approach was thoughtful and intentional, designed to bring out the best in the little girl while allowing her to express herself fully. Eventually, the cafe grew quieter, and it was time to leave. The father thanked the waitress again, expressing his deep appreciation for her patience, kindness, and dedication. The waitress smiled, acknowledging the impact the moment had on the little girl and her family. She had not expected anything in return, but she was happy to see the happiness she had helped create. The father walked away feeling inspired and grateful for the simple, profound experience. Outside, the father held his daughter's hand, feeling the warmth and energy of the day. They walked slowly, talking softly about the activities and the joy they had shared. The father realized that these experiences were teaching his daughter valuable lessons about trust, confidence, and the beauty of human connection. He felt hopeful that such moments would help her navigate the world with a sense of security and optimism. He also thought about the waitress and the positive influence she had on his daughter. He realized that people like her, who could offer patience, understanding, and encouragement, were rare and invaluable. The father felt inspired to recognize and support such individuals, understanding the difference they could make in the lives of others. The experience had opened his eyes to the power of simple acts of kindness. As they returned home, the father reflected on the day's events. He understood that wealth and success, while important in some ways, could never replace the significance of meaningful human connections. His daughter's confidence, happiness, and sense of trust had been nurtured by something far more valuable than money: a genuine, empathetic, and caring presence. The father felt a deep sense of gratitude and fulfillment, knowing that this experience would remain in their hearts forever. That evening, the father sat quietly with his daughter, talking about the day and the moments that had meant the most. She shared her excitement, her pride, and her joy in her own words, and he listened attentively. He knew that these experiences were shaping her character and outlook on life in ways that were more important than anything he could provide through wealth alone. The father felt a renewed sense of purpose, determined to create more opportunities for such moments, understanding that true happiness and growth came from connection, empathy, and shared experiences. The father reflected on the simple lesson he had learned from the waitress, that genuine care, patience, and understanding could create extraordinary changes in a person's life. It wasn't about grand gestures or material gifts. It was about being present, offering encouragement, and creating a safe space for someone to express themselves. He knew that this lesson would stay with him and his daughter, influencing how they approached the world and the people in it. In the days that followed, the father and daughter continued to return to the cafe whenever possible. Each visit brought new experiences, small breakthroughs, and moments of joy. The father watched his daughter grow more confident, expressive, and connected with others. He felt a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing that these simple human interactions were helping to shape her life in meaningful ways. The waitress remained a steady presence, offering kindness, encouragement, and guidance whenever needed. Through these repeated encounters, the father realized that life's true treasures were not wealth or luxury, but the moments of connection, understanding, and shared happiness. He had witnessed firsthand how one person's patience and empathy could transform another's confidence and outlook on life. The little girl's laughter, smiles, and newfound courage were proof of the profound impact of genuine human care. By the end of these experiences, the father knew that these memories, these small yet powerful moments, would remain with his daughter and him forever. They had discovered that joy could come from the simplest acts, that courage could be nurtured through encouragement, and that human connection was priceless. The father felt deeply grateful for the chance encounter with the waitress and the gift she had given them. It was a day, and a series of days that had changed their lives, teaching lessons that no money could buy and creating bonds that would last a lifetime. Days turned into weeks, and the father and his daughter kept returning to the cafe. Each visit brought new experiences, new lessons, and deeper bonds. The father began to notice subtle changes in his daughter. She seemed more confident, more willing to try new things, and her laughter came more freely. The waitress continued to guide her gently, always patient, always encouraging. Every small movement, every shared smile, every tiny step forward was celebrated quietly but meaningfully. On one particular afternoon, the cafe was filled with soft sunlight and a gentle hum of conversation. The father and daughter arrived, greeted warmly by the familiar staff. The daughter's eyes immediately sought the waitress, and her face lit up at the sight of her. The waitress waved and approached them, kneeling slightly to speak to the girl at her level. She suggested they try something new today, a simple story combined with movement. The father watched closely, intrigued by what this would bring. The waitress began telling a story, a gentle tale about a little bird learning to fly. She encouraged the daughter to act out different parts of the story with small movements. The daughter listened intently, her eyes following the waitress's gestures. Then, with guidance, she began to move, flapping her arms like wings, stepping carefully as if testing the ground before a flight. The father felt his heart swell. He had never seen his daughter so focused, so expressive, and so engaged in an activity that allowed her imagination to flourish. Other patrons in the cafe noticed the scene and smiled quietly. Some whispered to one another, remarking on the beauty of the moment. The father felt a sense of pride, not in the usual way of accomplishments or wealth, but in the quiet, profound satisfaction of seeing his daughter grow and thrive. He realized that this experience, fostered by the kindness and patience of the waitress, was shaping his daughter in ways far beyond what money or formal lessons could achieve. As the story progressed, the daughter became more adventurous. She began to add her own movements, small improvisations that showed creativity and courage. The waitress encouraged these ideas, applauding and guiding when needed, but always letting the girl take the lead. The father observed quietly, feeling a deep respect for the waitress. Her ability to nurture confidence and self-expression in someone who had once been hesitant was extraordinary. The father reflected on his own life and the lessons he had learned from work, business, and success. He realized that many of these lessons were important, but they could not compare to the life skills his daughter was gaining through these simple, joyful experiences. Trust, confidence, empathy, and the ability to connect with others were being cultivated in ways that formal education could not teach. He felt a profound gratitude for the waitress and her gentle, human approach. The daughter, now fully immersed in the story and movement, laughed and clapped, occasionally looking at her father to share her excitement. The father smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. He understood that these moments of connection and joy were invaluable. They were teaching his daughter about trust, courage, and self-expression in a way that nothing else could. He silently promised himself to continue supporting these experiences and to recognize their importance in shaping her character and confidence. The waitress, noticing the growing bond and progress, suggested introducing a few other children from the cafe to join in simple activities. The father agreed, seeing it as a wonderful opportunity for his daughter to interact and build social confidence. Small groups formed, and the little girl began to engage with them, learning to take turns, cooperate, and express herself within a group. The father watched, amazed at how quickly she adapted and how joyful she became. Her confidence had blossomed, and it was all thanks to the patience and encouragement of the waitress. The cafe became a hub of gentle energy, filled with laughter, soft music, and the quiet joy of learning and interaction. The father realized that this small establishment, with its kind staff and welcoming environment, had become a sanctuary for growth and happiness. His daughter had found a place where she could be herself, and he had witnessed the transformative power of human kindness firsthand. The father also began to reflect on the waitress's impact on the community. Her dedication, patience, and natural ability to connect with others were creating ripples of positivity that extended far beyond the cafe. He realized that true influence was not measured by wealth or status, but by the ability to uplift and inspire those around you. The waitress was a living example of this principle, and he felt inspired to acknowledge and support her in meaningful ways. As the weeks passed, the father and daughter continued to visit, each time experiencing new joys and growth. The daughter's confidence soared, her laughter became more frequent, and her willingness to try new things expanded. The father watched, filled with awe and gratitude, recognizing that these simple, human-centered experiences were shaping her character in profound ways. He understood that the combination of empathy, patience, and gentle guidance could have a lasting impact that wealth alone could never provide. The waitress, seeing the girls' continued progress, suggested exploring more creative activities, such as simple storytelling, role-playing, and imaginative movements. The father agreed enthusiastically, understanding that these activities were nurturing his daughter's social skills, creativity, and emotional intelligence. Together, they created a space where the little girl could thrive, express herself freely, and feel understood. The father marveled at the power of small, thoughtful actions to create meaningful growth. One afternoon, the father noticed a change in his daughter that made his heart swell. She initiated an idea for a small movement, guiding other children in the cafe to follow her lead. The waitress smiled, recognizing the importance of this moment. The little girl was no longer hesitant. She was confident, expressive, and eager to share her joy. The father felt a profound sense of accomplishment, not for himself, but for the growth and courage his daughter had developed. The father reflected on the journey they had taken so far. From the first shy dance to the confident leader she had become, he realized that human connection, empathy, and guidance were invaluable. The waitress had provided all of these in abundance, and the father was deeply grateful. He knew that this experience had changed not only his daughter but also himself, teaching him the importance of patience, understanding, and creating opportunities for joy and growth. As the afternoon drew to a close, the father thanked the waitress again, expressing his heartfelt appreciation for her dedication and care. The waitress smiled humbly, acknowledging the impact she had on the little girl and the father. She had not sought recognition, yet her influence had been profound. The father realized that these small acts of kindness could create ripple effects far beyond what one might expect. The father and daughter left the cafe, holding hands and talking softly about the day's activities. The father felt a renewed sense of purpose, understanding that true success was not measured by wealth, power, or accomplishments, but by the ability to nurture growth, confidence, and happiness in others. He vowed to continue supporting his daughter's experiences and to recognize the value of human connection and empathy in shaping a fulfilling life. As they walked home, the father reflected on the lessons he had learned from the waitress. She had shown that patience, encouragement, and genuine care could transform lives. She had helped his daughter discover confidence, joy, and the courage to express herself freely. The father understood that these lessons were far more important than any business strategy or financial success. They were lessons in humanity, kindness, and the enduring power of connection. The father held his daughter's hand tightly, feeling the warmth and love between them. He knew that these experiences in the cafe would stay with her forever, shaping her character, her confidence, and her understanding of the world. The little girl, full of joy and excitement, chatted about her ideas and movements, and the father listened attentively, marveling at her growth and happiness. It was a simple yet profound reminder that life's true treasures lay in love, empathy, and shared experiences. Over the following weeks, the visits to the cafe became a cherished routine for the father and his daughter. Every visit brought new experiences, each one leaving a lasting impression on both of them. The little girl's confidence and joy continued to grow, fueled by the gentle encouragement and guidance of the waitress. The father watched in awe as his daughter became more expressive, more adventurous, and more willing to connect with others. It was as if a new world had opened up for her, full of possibilities and happiness. On one particular afternoon, the cafe was bathed in the warm glow of the late afternoon sun. The father and daughter arrived, greeted warmly by the staff and the familiar smile of the waitress. Today, the waitress had planned something special. She suggested a small performance where the daughter could showcase all the movements and gestures she had learned and created over the past weeks. The father felt a mix of pride and excitement, eager to see his daughter embrace the opportunity. The little girl, initially hesitant, took a deep breath and began to move. Her steps were deliberate, yet free, filled with the joy and confidence she had gained. The father felt a lump in his throat as he watched her. Every motion, every expression, was a testament to her growth and the impact of the patience, kindness, and encouragement she had received. The waitress guided her subtly, providing support without taking control, allowing the girl to shine in her own way. The cafe patrons watched quietly, captivated by the performance. Some whispered softly to each other, moved by the innocence and beauty of the moment. Others smiled, recognizing the profound impact of encouragement and understanding on a young child. The father felt a deep sense of gratitude, not only for the waitress but for the journey they had shared. He understood that these experiences were shaping his daughter's character, teaching her about trust, courage, and the value of genuine human connection. As the performance continued, the daughter began to incorporate small improvisations, demonstrating creativity and self-expression. The father was amazed at how far she had come, from the shy, hesitant girl who had first entered the cafe to the confident, expressive child now performing with joy and assurance. The waitress applauded softly, acknowledging her progress and providing gentle guidance when needed. The father felt an overwhelming sense of pride and gratitude. After the performance, the father approached the waitress. He expressed his heartfelt appreciation for the care, patience, and encouragement she had shown. He explained how meaningful this experience had been for his daughter and for him, describing the growth and confidence he had witnessed. The waitress smiled humbly, saying that seeing the little girl happy and confident was reward enough. Her dedication had never been about recognition, but about making a positive difference in the lives of others. The father realized that the waitress's impact extended beyond his daughter. Her kindness and patience had created ripples of positivity in the cafe, inspiring others and fostering an environment of warmth and connection. He felt inspired to acknowledge and support her in meaningful ways, understanding the profound value of her influence. The father knew that individuals like her, who could uplift and inspire others, were rare and precious. The little girl, energized by the performance, hugged the waitress tightly, expressing gratitude in her own gentle, heartfelt way. The father observed quietly, moved by the genuine affection between them. He understood that this bond, built on trust, patience, and encouragement, was invaluable. The little girl had learned to express herself freely, to trust others, and to embrace her own abilities. These lessons would remain with her for a lifetime. Over the next few visits, the father and daughter continued to explore new activities at the cafe. The waitress introduced simple storytelling, imaginative movements, and collaborative games. Each activity nurtured creativity, confidence, and social skills. The father marveled at how much his daughter had grown, how freely she expressed herself, and how joyfully she interacted with others. He realized that these experiences were more valuable than any material possession or luxury. One day, the father suggested to the waitress that perhaps her skills could be shared more widely. He mentioned the idea of creating a small program or foundation to help children and adults who struggled with self-expression and confidence. The waitress, surprised but interested, listened carefully. The father offered to support her, providing resources and guidance to expand her impact. She felt a mix of gratitude and excitement, realizing that she could help even more people experience the joy and growth she had helped his daughter achieve. The father and waitress worked together to design a simple, approachable program. They planned activities that combined movement, storytelling, and creative expression, aimed at helping children and adults develop confidence, social skills, and emotional awareness. The little girl often participated, helping to show others how enjoyable and empowering these experiences could be. The father watched with pride, knowing that this initiative would bring happiness and growth to many others, just as it had to his daughter. The cafe continued to be a welcoming environment, now hosting small sessions of these activities. Parents, children, and even adults who had never engaged in such experiences before began to participate. The father saw the transformative effects firsthand, witnessing smiles, laughter, and newfound confidence in participants of all ages. The waitress, with her gentle guidance, nurtured each person's growth, creating an atmosphere of trust, joy, and encouragement. As the weeks passed, the father noticed a remarkable change in his daughter. She was no longer hesitant or shy. She spoke confidently, interacted freely, and expressed herself through movement and creativity with ease. The father felt a profound sense of fulfillment. He understood that the combination of empathy, patience, and encouragement had helped his daughter discover her own strength and potential. The experience had not only impacted her confidence, but had also deepened their bond, creating shared memories of joy, growth, and connection. One afternoon, as the program at the cafe concluded, the father reflected on the journey they had taken. From a shy, hesitant girl entering a quiet cafe to a confident, expressive child leading and inspiring others, the transformation was remarkable. He realized that the true power of human connection, empathy, and patience could not be measured by wealth or success. It was seen in the growth, joy, and confidence of a young life, nurtured through kindness and understanding. The father took his daughter's hand, feeling the warmth, energy, and love between them. He spoke softly, telling her how proud he was of her courage, creativity, and growth. The little girl smiled, her eyes shining with happiness and pride. She had learned to trust herself, to express her feelings, and to embrace new experiences with confidence. The father knew that these lessons would stay with her forever, shaping her understanding of the world and her place within it. The waitress stood nearby, observing quietly, her heart full of satisfaction. She had helped create something meaningful, guiding the little girl and others with patience, care, and empathy. She knew that her efforts had a lasting impact, teaching lessons of confidence, courage, and human connection that could not be measured in material terms. The father approached her once more, expressing his deepest gratitude and admiration. Her work had changed lives, starting with his daughter, and had the potential to continue inspiring many more. As they left the cafe that day, the father felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. He realized that life's true treasures were not wealth, power, or possessions, but the moments of connection, understanding, and shared joy. The little girl had learned to trust, to express herself, and to embrace her own abilities. The waitress had shared her gift, creating ripples of positivity that extended far beyond what anyone could see. And the father had witnessed it all, understanding that these simple, human-centered experiences were the most valuable of all. In the weeks and months that followed, the father, his daughter, and the waitress continued their journey. They nurtured creativity, confidence, and joy in many others, spreading kindness and encouragement wherever they could. The father watched with pride and gratitude, knowing that the lessons his daughter had learned would guide her for a lifetime. The little girl grew more confident, joyful, and expressive, her life enriched by the experiences she had shared with the waitress. The father reflected on the impact of one simple encounter, a dance in a quiet cafe that had sparked a journey of growth, confidence, and joy. He realized that sometimes the most extraordinary changes come from the simplest acts of kindness and understanding. The waitress had offered patience, guidance, and encouragement, transforming not only his daughter's life but also inspiring him and countless others. The father understood that true wealth was measured not in money, but in the ability to create meaningful, lasting connections. As the story continued to unfold, the father and daughter cherished every visit, every shared smile, and every moment of growth. The little girl thrived in the nurturing environment, and the father felt gratitude beyond words. The waitress's quiet dedication had created a space where confidence, creativity, and joy could flourish, proving that the smallest acts of kindness could have the greatest impact. Together, they had discovered the power of human connection, the beauty of shared experiences, and the importance of nurturing growth with patience, empathy, and love. In the end, the father knew that this journey had changed their lives forever. His daughter had gained confidence, joy, and self-expression. The waitress had found purpose in sharing her gift, and he had learned that true happiness and fulfillment came from connection, understanding, and the quiet moments that shape hearts and minds. A simple dance, a kind gesture, and the warmth of human care had created a story of hope, growth, and inspiration that would be remembered for a lifetime.